Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name's Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and property investor, and today we have Lee with us, and together we're going to have a bit of a chat about how we got started in property, what we would maybe do differently if we could go back in time, and what we both did to scale our businesses, you more in property, me more as an entrepreneur, and what lessons we've learned, and hopefully we'll be able to give a bit of information to our audience and share some wisdom with you guys. Does that sound good?
Sounds fantastic.
Excellent. So my name's Mark.
I'm Lee.
And together we've got 160 houses. Unfortunately, only 15 of them are mine. So you've got 150, right?
About 150.
And if you don't mind, do you mind telling everyone about how you got started, a little bit about yourself?
It started roughly about 1989. Always wanted to know that, wanted to get into property. It was a slow process back then, saving the deposit and everything like that, and then buying the first property, waiting for that property to appreciate. Obviously now I know a lot more, and now it's a lot easier to scale.
So I would say my beginning of my journey was very similar, right? I bought my first house, I waited for it to appreciate. I actually didn't buy my second house for 3 years. It might have been 4 years, maybe 2 or 3 years, certainly.
Similar, I think mine was about 3 years afterwards.
So I waited for it to really appreciate. And obviously now I would have done it differently. I would have refinanced much earlier. I even had the opportunity to. I chose not to.
Well, back when I started, there was no buy-to-let, wasn't even heard of.
Yeah.
Had to go with a business plan to the manager. So it was very, very different back in 1989.
So how do you go from one house to 150 in how many years?
It's about 30 years now.
30 years.
30 years now.
How do you do that? Talk us through that journey.
Well, the first lot was basically the first 8 were through natural appreciation, waiting for inflation to increase the price. Then there was the advent of buy-to-let. So that allowed me to release equity to carry on buying more properties. And then after that, obviously, forced appreciation. Then I started to learn more experience. Then you buy below market value, then you perhaps had an extra bedroom, or you find a distressed seller. So you start looking out, rather than just buying anything, you become a bit more picky and choosy.
So when you talk about forced appreciation, for anybody who doesn't realise, this is the sort of thing that how I would describe it. It's where you purchase something where you know you're going to be able to add value, one way or another, like you said, either through buying below market value, so i.e. you've negotiated a great deal with the seller, it's already worth more. There's that forced appreciation straight away, right? Like I bought a house in Sheffield, 110,000 about 3 months ago, on an option contract, like you know, I talked you through that one, and that's easily worth 135. Exactly. So there's 25 grand straight away.
You're making your money when you buy.
I refinanced that in 6-12 months, and straight away I've got almost all my money back out of that deal.
So basically recycling your money all the time.
Absolutely.
So you've got, say, 50,000, you recycle that, keep purchasing properties, release that equity again, and move on. But if you're just buying at market value, and you can't force that appreciation, it's very difficult to scale.
And it really is horses for courses, right? And there's times in markets where it's really easy to do that, and there's times when it's hard, right? Like 2022, quite hard to buy below market value.
Really
right?
difficult.
Like, did you find anything? I can think of 1 or 2 opportunities that went past my desk.
Now's a really great time.
Today
landlords are leaving.
Yeah.
They want to get out of the market. Obviously, we've got high inflation, which we talked about before. So obviously, the assets are going to start rising. You've just got to get your figures right.
And I think that people are underestimating just how much demand there are for rents. Like, you're a big landlord, right? 150. I just rented out that house that I was telling you about in Sheffield. 2 years ago, it was 650. We had 20 people view it. I rented it for 950.
It's incredible now how the rents have
so
gone.
much more than I thought I would get. I didn't even work my figures out on that. I worked my figures out on 850.
It's just incredible how they're just going up now, the rents.
Flying, right? Absolutely flying.
And the demand from tenants is incredible.
Absolutely. So anybody who's watching this, who's worried or scared about getting into the market right now, I personally think it's a great time. In fact, I can't think of a better time in the last couple of years.
When everyone else is afraid, that's the time to jump into the market.
Yeah. So would you say, I mean, you've been in the market a long time, 2007, 2008, painful time or?
2008, very painful time. Not because of my business, it's because of the banks. They were running scared then.
But 2010, probably great opportunities, right?
Fantastic. Or I've been buying at the bottom of the market, middle of the market, sometimes at the top of the market. None of us know when it's the top, none of us know when it's the bottom. Just got to work out your figures.
So do you work your figures out purely on the ROI, on a cash-on-cash basis? Or are you always looking but how quickly can I get that deposit back?
Personally, for me, I'm looking how quick I can get my money back out.
Right.
So if I'm into a deal for no money, that's fantastic.
You're fine.
Infinite return.
Cash flow can be small, it doesn't matter, your money's back out.
Cash flow can be small. So some we put on repayment, some we have interest only. So we have a mix.
So you're a bit older than me, right? Like, that's fair to say.
Yeah.
16 years older, I think, 15 years older. Has your attitude to risk and debt changed from when you were 40? Like, I'm 40, and I still feel like, possibly because I've got a lot of runway in front of me, I feel like I can still afford to take a lot of risks. Does that change at all or not really?
I don't feel as I'm taking a risk.
No.
Because now with the extra knowledge I've got, I'm not taking a risk.
Right. So you're still quite comfortable to leverage up?
Quite comfortable. If the deal stacks up, very comfortable to buy it.
Fantastic. And we're obviously out on a boat today, and we've had a bit.
What an amazing day. Absolutely amazing.
It's been good, right?
It's incredible.
And we met each other through YouTube.
Through YouTube.
You sent me a massive email, and then I flew out to Spain, saw you,
right.
came out to Portugal, and then you've come out to Dubai.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a small world.
It's been fantastic, and that all starts from commenting on videos and then just making connections, right? And
it's just incredible. We've come out here looking at property in Dubai, and for me, Dubai doesn't actually work. We've had this conversation.
Yeah. Let's explain why. Why.
Yeah, fantastic.
So what's the reason that it doesn't work for you out here?
Well, we were looking at new builds, and then you had to put a large deposit down. Some of them 20, 30, what was it, 20, 30?
I think it was 20%. 20%.
Had to put that down, and then you tying up that money, and then it's perhaps 3, maybe 4 years, and you keep constantly putting money in, so you have to put 100% cash. You can't release that money. So it's not working for you, you're not getting a return on it. And for me, I'm looking at the vendors, they're saying guaranteed 30% return in a year. To me, that seemed more like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, absolutely. So I felt the same. I felt like you put your money away, you didn't even get the house.
No,
you didn't even get the assets.
You're tying that money up.
Tied the money up. You couldn't rent the house out because you didn't own it because it wasn't there. It seems ridiculous. And then we were looking at second-hand ones, and because you would be a non-resident, 50% down again, doesn't make any sense.
50% down. Then you couldn't release your equity.
Yeah.
Then I couldn't see how I was going to force the appreciation because there's literally thousands of flats. How are you going to differentiate your flat from someone else's?
So has there ever been a time where the forced appreciation isn't the focus? Has there ever been a time where you've tried other strategies?
Loads. Like if the property's advertised with the wrong agent, we're looking at a deal at the moment. It's potentially a residential property with a commercial agent. So that's a good strategy. Just being marketed wrong. So we're going to go for that. Permitted development. There's lots of different
things you've looked at. And do you always kind of settle back on where you're comfortable? Because I quite often speak to people who are chasing the next shiny horse. Do you know what I mean? The next big thing. It goes in cycles. It started like HMOs, then service accommodation, and rent to rent, and then there's the next hot thing.
I've never been into HMOs. No. I want an easier life. I've done them. It's not really for me. It's not my cup of tea. So.
And you've got a couple of service accommodations, though?
We've got service accommodation, love that. Really enjoy that.
Think the government's going to stop it?
Well, we've got them in different countries as well. So we've got stuff in Portugal. That's absolutely fantastic there. That's been a really good return.
So going back in time, is there anything, I mean, I can think of lots of things that I would change on my journey. What would you change on yours?
For my journey? Now I realise there's a lot of money in the world, and you just have to find it. So I would just find private investors, network a lot more. They're perhaps time poor but cash rich, and utilise their money. Before I was just conscious I had to save, but now I'm starting to mix in different circles, and you can get money from other sources other than banks.
Absolutely, and I think part of that is that you have to have a track record as well, though, right? Because
you have to have experience, track record.
I think sometimes people, again, I get hit up a lot on Instagram with people going, oh, can I potentially invest in this deal with me? And I'm like, what's your track record? Well, this will be the first one I've done, and here's my figures, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to be your guinea pig, right? Like, I like a bit of experience. There's no real substitute for experience.
You can start small and just build on that. I mean, we can see little deals, maybe 40,000, 50,000. It doesn't have to be
like
massive.
That Sheffield property that I told you about. That's cheap, right? Like I'm in it for nothing really because I got it on an option contract. But even when I do pay the deposit, it's going to be small, you know, and I'll have to pay it, buy it, refinance it. We know that this is the case, but it's only be 25 grand in, 30 grand in.
Which is very
It's
doable.
not a lot. It's not a lot. For
Very
most
doable.
people, if you want to be an investor, you have to be able to raise that sort of money, right? Like whether it's saving, whether it's working extra, whatever it is, borrowing, you've got to be able to get 20, 30 grand.
Definitely.
Right?
Normally we know someone that's got that sort of money.
Yeah.
You can get that.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree. That's what I would change on my journey. Other than that, I've kind of built in business wrapper, right? Like, so whereas you've built your business around property, I built my businesses in taxis, like, you know. What do you think of like the differences? Because we've talked a lot about
For me,
what I've been doing versus what you've been doing. Do you know what I mean? Where we both are in our journey.
I think properties that get rich slow.
Yeah.
Now, that's my own personal opinion.
My business hasn't been get rich quick.
It's a
I've worked really hard.
It's a get rich slow. I've been doing it 30 years now, so
Yeah.
I think sometimes there can be false expectations of people.
I would
They think
agree.
Within 6, 12 months they're going to be a multi-millionaire. You may have £1 million worth of assets, but it doesn't mean you're a millionaire.
So I think the big difference is within business, not only do you leverage capital, but you leverage human capital.
Definitely.
Whereas in property, you're really only leveraging capital. Do you know what I mean? Because there's such a big market, everybody has equal information. Like, it's very rare that you would see something and I would see something and we would have different information. There's so many market participants and we're all looking at the same things.
100%.
Getting that leverage is really, really hard.
Yeah.
And having that advantage. And I guess when you're trying to force appreciation, that's what you're looking for, right? Asymmetry in risk and reward, right? Like this is higher levels of reward than the risk that's attached to it.
100%.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's the big difference, is the leveraging of human capital. I also think property is way less risky. Like, way less.
Time.
Like, just buy it, it will come good if you have long enough.
As long as you can sit there, hold the asset, eventually it'll come
Absolutely. So I think it's much, much less risky. Much less risky. So guys, hopefully this video has been really interesting for you. If you've got any comments or want any questions answered, put them in the comments down below. Lee, you're happy to answer anything,
Definitely,
right? So
yeah.
I'll make sure I forward them on. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We will see you on the next video. Tom, do a little bit of sunset B-roll around here. Look at how beautiful this all looks. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.